So for today's topic, we have yet another outbreak on board a Royal Caribbean cruise ship this time, because believe it or not, this is the 18th cruise ship outbreak that has taken place here in 2025. And naturally, the media is running wild with this. There are publications and articles, and it's going viral all over the internet. So just to fill you in on what's taking place, this took place on a cruise that was going out of LA between the dates of July 8th through July 12th on board Royal Caribbean's Navigator of the Seas that holds 4,000 passengers and crew at full capacity. Of those 4,000 passengers and crew, you had 133 passengers and 7 crew members that started suffering some symptoms. The symptoms being, of course, vomiting, stomach cramps, and aches, and diarrhea, or what I like to call the bubble guts. Now, thankfully, during this whole situation, nobody was hospitalized due to this illness. Nobody succumbed to this illness or passed away. They were just miserable from anywhere between 24 to 72 hours. Of course, when it became apparent that there was indeed an outbreak on board Navigator of the Seas, Royal Caribbean quickly sprung into action and implemented their enhanced health and safety sanitation measures and started wiping everything down and cleaning and doing what they needed to do in order to, of course, alleviate the ship of this illness and, of course, appease the almighty CDC. Now, one thing you have to understand when it comes to the CDC, or Centers for Disease Control, is that they have a very small threshold and little tolerance when it comes to what they consider an outbreak on board a cruise ship. The threshold is just 3%. If 3% of the overall population on board any cruise ship is affected with any type of virus or illness, they call it an outbreak. This is why there have been 18 this year and you haven't really heard about them, because again, a lot of people aren't really batting an eye to every situation that's taken place, because Royal Caribbean had another ship, I believe it was Radiance of the Seas, back in February, that had over 90 people that also contracted this virus. Now, the illness in question, rather, is the gastrointestinal illness. Now, unfortunately, this is something that is somewhat common on cruise ships because, yes, you are in close proximity with a lot of people, and yeah, if one person has it, it can easily be spread to another person, and now you have this situation. Back when I worked for Norwegian, I was on the Norwegian Escape, we had an outbreak, and I believe at that time, it was about 1,000 people that ended up unfortunately getting infected with this illness. And well, we were supposed to be docked in New York. They didn't let us dock in New York, and we had people in hazmat suits for the CDC come on board and sanitize everything. It was a giant mess. It was absolutely crazy to see, but overall, things ended up working out, and the next sailing, we ended up getting back to everything, and it was overall normal. Actually, I take that back. It took 3 sailings for us to get back to normal, because they cleared us from the first outbreak that took place, and they let another batch of cookies, more passengers, come on board, and they also ended up contracting the illness as well. We had to do this cycle all over again. But on the 3rd sailing, things were fine. But when it comes to the situation in general, yes, we do know the media likes to blow this stuff out of proportion, because of the outbreaks that take place in the United States, cruise ships make up about 1% of it, so it's not that big of a deal, or rather, they make it a big deal because it's like anything that happens with a cruise or a flight. It's so rare that when you deal with this kind of stuff, well, it's going to get blown out of proportion. But my advice to all of you is just, of course, take care of yourself. Wash your hands when you're on board a cruise ship, because yeah, these things can possibly happen. And when it comes to this article, I don't know what's going on here. Maybe Carnival paid for this article to get published and blasted all over the place? I don't know. But either way, it's done and over with. Thankfully, nobody is really sick and has to go to the hospital. It's going to be all right and just fine. This is why I also don't really talk about these outbreaks anymore, because it is honestly just a nothing burger. But of course, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit that like button on your way out. Subscribe if you haven't already. And as usual, I love and appreciate every single one of you. I'll see you later. Take it easy.